This is Orlando Wilson, and what I want to talk about in this podcast slash video, because we're putting things out in both formats now, is people seeking revenge, or revenge in general. And this is a topic I get people approaching me about, I'd say regularly, once every month, couple of months. I get a call or an inquiry, somebody's been wronged and they want to put it right, or think they can put it right by getting revenge on somebody. Generally, revenge doesn't work. It's expensive, time consuming, and again, these days, well, all days, you have to be extremely careful because you can end up putting yourself in a lot of trouble if you're threatening people. You cannot threaten people, it's illegal. And again, what people forget is a lot of the people that's going to scam you and wrong you, how can I put it politely, are little bitches. And even though they've wronged you, they've scammed you, they might have taken money, disrespected you, whatever, if you threaten them, they're going to be the first people running to the police and reporting you for threatening them. So in today's world, and I think in the world in general, you cannot go threatening people. The other thing as well, if you threaten people, be it physically or with legal action or whatever, if you don't follow through, you're made to look stupid. And you lose all credibility. So all actions you take in the future is going to be difficult. It's going to be a lot more, you're not going to have so much leverage because you've already made how many threats and not followed through on them. You're barking. It's hot air. Do threats work? No. I'll tell you a story. Years ago, well, they can work in some contexts, but again, you have to be extremely careful. Years and years ago, when I first went to London, I was working for a company providing, of course, security in Kilburn, Harlesden, Willesden areas of London. The guy had the jobs for local councils, etc. And it was interesting because it was security work. Generally, places with problems, the squatters were kicked out by the council, we moved in, etc. So interesting security work. But again, these days, it's not the type of thing people would, how can I put it? In those days, you could get away with a lot more, and people wanted security. Anyway, I had a job in Central Europe come up, and the day I left, this guy owed me money from the London company, paid me a couple of thousand, put the check in the bank, and off I went to do my other job in Central Europe at the time. And in those days, I think I just first got a Visa card, which people told me, no need to take cash, you can use your Visa card, etc. No worries. Well, when I got to where I was going and tried to use my Visa card, I had no money. In those days, I had to find a phone, call the bank, etc. And the check I'd put in for a couple of thousand, £2,000 or £3,000, the person that gave me the check, the company, had withdrawn the check as soon as he knew I left the country. Because I told him I was going away, that's it. So now I was in Central Europe with no money. I had like 50 Deutschmark, and I ended up having to make my way back to UK and then sort things out. Stayed with a friend, etc., etc. Long story. And that was a rule to me then of always travel with enough cash to get back to where you want to go. Anyway, I went to the guy's house. They bounced the check on me. He's not there, etc. He's avoiding, and I take it. Looking back, he must probably didn't have the money because he spent it. He must probably put it up his nose. I went for a drink, as you do, with somebody that knew him, one of the guys that worked with him, and we was talking about this stuff, and I was like, this guy's an idiot. Why? He's that easy to screw over. He's that easy to target. If I wanted to screw him up, I could, but I wouldn't because I do everything legally. And the story went on, and I said, okay, his office is right next to his house, his home office is right next to a big park, right? I could sit across the road in the park with a crossbow. All I've got to do, I know where his office is, I know the layout of his office, I know where his desk is. All I've got to do is make a phone call. Mobile phones were just coming in then, early 90s. Make a call his home phone, wait for him to pick up the phone. I know where he's going to be. Landlines in those days. He'll be at his desk, he'll pick the phone up. All I've got to do is put a crossbow bolt straight through his window. Because I know where he's going to be. I said, well, somebody would just have to do that. And I said, that's it, he's screwed. If it's not going to hit him and hurt him, it's going to send the message. Did I intend to do that? Never. Why? It's illegal, and I know that I would have got myself into too much trouble, and the guy wasn't worth it, and it wasn't worth it for the money. A couple of thousand, nothing. At the time, it's a hell of a lot of money, but these days, and even then, looking at it, is it worth going to jail for? Is it worth the problems? Never. So again, we were just talking BS. That story got back to the person that owed me money. And the funny thing was, the other people that knew him said he didn't answer the phone for how many days, and the money ended up in my account pretty quickly. So maybe threats do work in some ways, but you have to be extremely careful. Did I intend that to get back to him? No. Did I intend to do it? No. But it did. It's how things work. It's how the jungle drums beat, right? And okay, in that case, it worked. And the funny thing is, and especially shortly after that, as soon as the money was in my account, a few days later, he called me up and offered me more work, which I did. And he might have been late on a few payments, but the payments were always in my account. So that's how things can work. But again, if that guy had spun a story and went to the police, at the end of the day, I'm sure the police would have been, okay, we're not interested. Or I could have got a knock on my door saying, what the hell are you up to? If you even make moves to do that type of thing, or threaten people or attack people these days, you can end up screwed up. Even as far as going and knocking on somebody's door and telling them you want money, they owe you money or whatever. Again, they just need to call the police and you can have problems. In the US, you go knocking on people's door. If you're aggressive, overly aggressive, you can get shot in a lot of states. So it's not worth it. So this is where, if somebody's wronged you and you want to get your own back on them, it's best to do it legally. Do a background check, find out what angles, find out what things they screwed up on, etc. How can you get an angle on that person? Once you get the angle, okay, then take legal action. Report them to the police, report them to the courts, report them to licensing, etc. But again, that's time consuming. It takes money, it takes time. And generally, I tell people, you've got better things to do with your life. It's better revenge for you to push forwards and get on with things than it is to waste your time on people that's wasted your time. And they might have cost you money, but such is life. Don't be so stupid as to get involved with people. Always do your diligence when you're getting involved with people. Now, if people are after you, let me just backtrack on that. And again, a lot of people go to lawyers when they have problems. And my experiences with lawyers, I know some good lawyers, they're a minority, not the majority. A lot of lawyers, if you go to them with a problem, they'll tell you they can solve the problem, and all they're going to do is take your money. On something like a revenge thing or a legal thing, they will end up saying, yes, we can do this. Yes, we can sue the person. Yes, we can do all these wonderful things. And the chances are they'll end up doing nothing. You got to think about, if you're going to sue somebody, do they actually have the money to pay you if you win in court? When you take them to court and say you win the case, do they have any assets to pay you? Are they going to pay you? Or are they just going to blow you off? So this is what a lot of lawyers won't tell you. They'll happily take your money to sue somebody, but when it comes down to, okay, you get the judgment in your favor, the person you've sued has got no assets. They'll just go bankrupt. So you've just wasted how much time and money suing somebody. Now, if somebody's after you, if you've done something wrong, and this is where don't do things wrong, or if you get into disputes with people, understand that some crazy people out there will take things to the extremes. So again, this is another one for knowing who you're dealing with, and don't go dealing with wackos, right? And if you're dealing with wackos, if you're dealing with people in general, if you're screwing people over, expect them to come after you. So have plans in place to deal with idiots coming after you. The criminals do, the scammers do, so should you. Classic one's extortion. People try to extort things out of people. Why do people try to extort other people? Well, generally, you've screwed up in the first place. You've done something questionable, or something you think is questionable, and now you've got somebody trying to extort money from you. Golden rule, don't do anything stupid. Don't go dealing with those type of people or putting yourself in a situation where you can be extorted. I got one case that comes to mind where a client of mine had issues in the US. He had a very professional gentleman. I'm sure he's very respected at his synagogue, etc. Very professional line of work. But he had a thing for ghetto prostitutes. and he had a thing for taking ghetto prostitutes to his house and his practice, etc. And one of these young ladies will house when his wife and kids weren't there. One of these young ladies decided to take things further and squeeze him for a little bit of money, shall we say. He didn't want to go to the police. Well, he talked to a lawyer. That cost him a lot of money, and they come up blank. She was extorting him. He didn't want to go to the police. He could, but again, he'd have to explain what she was doing in his house, how he knew him, etc. Police reports. He didn't want people to know. He didn't want his family to know what had been going on, as usual. So I got the call because he was a friend of a friend, and to solve the problem, and again, we have to do this legally because we do not break the law. All I done was phone up the young lady in the end, because we were looking for her. We was going to where she lived, which was, how can we put it, hood. Speaking to the locals in the area, trying to find her because we wanted to talk to her. And it was not going to threaten her in any way. Why? Because people like that, you threaten, they've got guns, their friends have got guns, you end up in a big mess. Legal, etc., etc. Big mess. So that's the last thing we want. I wanted to talk to her. When I did manage to talk to her after we got all the BS out of the way, the screaming and shouting, whatever, and I'd done this over the phone, I just said to her, I was like, look, leave the guy alone. You've taken him for a lot of money. Just leave him alone. He doesn't want to see you again. That's it. The conversation deteriorated, but she understood things when I told her, okay, now, how do I put it to her? I said, how would the kids in your neighborhood respond? And again, it's all drug dealers. It's all hood. I said to her, how would the kids in your neighborhood respond if they understood you took this guy for $50,000? And she was like, okay. She understood. And thinking about it now, how would the kids and people in her neighborhood respond if they found out that she just scammed this guy for $50,000? Well, I think they'd all want a piece, and she understood that. That ended that. He never heard from her again. The client never heard from her again. But he went on to do a few other stupid things in the future the same. That's where, by understanding, especially with that lady, understanding her culture, understanding how things work, we was able to solve the problem by saying, look, just please back off. We don't want problems. The client doesn't want to see you again. Just take the money you've made and disappear, which she did. But again, to do that, you have to understand people. You have to understand the culture. I've got another video up about that, podcast up about that, about understanding people's perspectives. You have to understand people's perspectives if you're working in a close protection, security, and investigations business. It helps in life in general. So that's if somebody's trying to extort you. If somebody's after you for debt, if you owe somebody money, again, look at the laws on debt in your area. Again, there are generally things, if it's legitimate debt, you don't have the money, things went wrong for you, which happens to a lot of people. There's things you can put in place to stop debt collectors coming after you, legal debt collectors, etc. If you owe money to criminals, that's another problem. Why? Because things get physical, things get nasty. The thing is, the general rule is don't go dealing with criminals and you won't end up with those problems. Don't go borrowing money from loan sharks. That's going to come around and break your legs. Avoid those people in the first place and you won't have those type of problems. Now, if you are in a place where you have a stalker or criminals coming after you, and again, they're threatening you physically, again, always go to the police. Go to a lawyer, I'd say, as a last resort, because a lawyer is just going to screw you for money. Talk to somebody that actually knows the laws in your area and work out what you can do legally. Get evidence of the threats been made against you and go to the police. That's it. If you're living in certain states in the US where you can defend yourself legally, where you can own firearms, get a firearm, get training, understand the law on how you can defend yourself. If you're in countries like UK where there's very weak self-defense laws, again, understand the law. But again, if you've got people after you there, threatening you there, again, basic stalker management, build up a log of what threats are being made, etc., 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 when, where you've been followed, all the BS, and go to the police and present it to the police. The trouble is, with a lot of police forces, they're very busy. They don't have the time to deal with people coming in saying they've been threatened. Why? They got other things to worry about, especially in UK, like people posting offensive tweets and offensive Facebook posts. But again, all you can do in that situation from a legal perspective is build up a case on that person, build up the evidence, go to the police and present the evidence to them and try and get them to do something. Up your personal security. And if you're in a place, as I said, where you can legally be armed, get the licenses you need, get the weapons you need, well, the firearms you need, etc., the legal weapons you can have, get the training to use them, and put your plans in place to deal with any hostile situations. And again, if a hostile situation is going to develop, call the police beforehand. So the general rule is revenge. If somebody's wronged you, if you want to go after them, do not make threats, because you can end up in more trouble than them. You can end up in a lot more trouble. And again, a lot of the scammers, a lot of the rats will already have things in place of how they can screw you over if you threaten them. So they will be the first ones. I got other stories, we don't have time here. They will be the first ones to call the police on you. So make sure everything you do is legal. Do the background checks, work out an angle so you can cause the problem, cause the people that wronged you problems legally. Do not break the law and be very careful. If somebody's coming after you, again, look at things from a legal perspective of what you can do to defend yourself legally, or what you can do to end the situation legally. Do not break the law. And as I said, I say to this to a lot of people, you got to be very careful if you're dealing with people that have nothing to lose. Why? Because they have nothing to lose. If you're a professional person, if you have assets, a family, etc., a career, then you have a lot to lose. Don't go dealing with people that have nothing to lose. If you deal with a lot of people that have nothing to lose and are borderline criminal or criminal, they'll want what you have. And they will, once they see you make a mistake, once they see you commit a crime or do something questionable, they've got no qualms about exploiting that so they can make money off you. You're an asset. You're just somebody to them who they can take money from. That's it. You're just a commodity. So this is it. If you've got something to lose, do your best not to deal with people that have nothing to lose. And if you have to deal with them professionally or for whatever reason, understand their mentality. Understand that you are literally in the jungle and you can get eaten. So I hope this podcast is giving you some advice on if you feel you need to take revenge on somebody or if somebody's trying to get revenge on you. But as I said, make sure everything you do is legal. I've got a lot more podcasts going up, videos going up. As I said, we're doing these in both formats now, so they're going up on YouTube and also on our podcast channel, YouTube and other social media. So follow us along on social media for more advice, more perspectives on personal security, close protection, dealing with people, dealing with problems, dealing with business, etc. Also, I have an array of books up on Amazon to do with various aspects of the security business, close protection, kidnap and ransom, home security, etc. Also, check out my blog, Truth Only Has a Few Friends, and the Risk Incorporated blog. We've got a lot of content up there, a lot of articles on different aspects of the security business that will give you tips on how to secure yourself, your home, your business, and hopefully keep you out of trouble. So if you follow us along, a lot of the content we got online will answer any personal security questions you've got. If not, feel free to reach out to me, and when I have time, I will answer your questions. In the meantime, be good, stay safe, stay out of trouble. And the general rule is revenge is not worth it. If you've made a mistake or something, move on, let it go. Such is life. Focus on the future, not on the past. And I speak from experience because over the years I spent too much time dealing with people that's wronged me. And what did I get out of it? Not a lot. Generally just a lot. I see now I wasted a lot of my time. So don't waste your time on people that's not worth your time.